It's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. A little bit of early morning drama. Elderly relative ringing at 3:30 in the morning, causing alarm around the family. But all is well. Accidental. Great to hear that. Fantastic. Gumper dust all round. Gumper dust all round, everybody. How are you this morning? We've got Sarah Davie from Spartan FX joining us at around 1:15 this morning. And she, of course, is newly arrived here in Portugal, living the dream, I think it's fair to say. Having spoken to Sarah on and off the record, I think she's having a fine time here in Portugal. And of course, if you've got any questions about changing your dollars for euros or your pounds for euros or any other major currency, yes, Deagle, well spotted. 2 layers this morning. It's a bit colder and damper this morning than it has been, but summer's not over yet. We're going to have a San Martino summer in San Martino. So well spotted, Deagle. Yeah. Any questions about currency exchange? And it's never too early or too late, as it turns out, to what's this? Do you have? So I'm getting distracted by the comments already. Let me just complete that first part to tell you that Sarah Davie is joining us at around 1:15, and then Marion Geray joins us. I see, Abdul Alim. Do you have someone really from the East? Well, that's a really good question. Marion Geray is singing the praises of the Eastern influence on the West. I myself, I do really have somebody from the East. That'll be my mother. And so I've grown up with an East-West balance to be struck. And that's what we'll be talking about. So Marion Geray is from Germany, but she spent time in the Far East in China, in mainland China. Is that still a phrase that's used, where she's learned Qigong from a Chinese master, and keen to impress upon us the value of putting a little bit more yin with our yang. How do you think your country rates with the yin and yang balance? The West is quite yangy, isn't it? England is yang-glater, isn't it, if you think about it? And I would suggest that if each of us looks at our countries, we will find that our countries are quite yangy and male and positive, aren't they, in their energy? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Maybe I will tonight, when we start our new program with the Portuguese. Munson and the Geezer. We're starting that tonight at 7 o'clock, where we will be a little bit more outspoken, I think, and a little bit more personal or personally felt issues will be discussed. You know how every now and then we need a storm drain? Things build up, don't they? I see the Good Morning Portugal show as hopeful, positive, inspiring, and upbeat. And it's not the environment really for having rows and falling out and having ding-dongs online, which is so much the rage at the moment. No, we stand for something different here on the GMP. However, sometimes we do need to let off a bit of steam, and I'll give you a quick preview now of what's happening at 7 this evening. And yes, we will be talking about the balance between East and West, metaphorically, I suppose, more than anything else, symbolically, as I'm sure Marion will be mentioning the yin-yang sign that symbolizes such a balance. Right, this is what's happening at 7 tonight.
Munson and the Geezer. Munson and the Geezer. Reporting from the scene. Munson and the Geezer. News in every ride.
7 o'clock tonight with the vegetarian teetotaler who is the Portuguese. And he has many other interesting positions in life as well, from which he'll be talking and reflecting on world news. That's the idea. We're looking at world news from a perspective of being foreigners in Europe. Is that complicated enough? Okay, Abdul, thank you very much for that offer. You can join us this morning and please keep commenting. Okay, next time I volunteer to bring some Eastern perspective. It's very important, isn't it? Very interesting. So thank you very much for doing that. And you're very welcome to chip in this morning. And it would be lovely to see you. Let's interview you in your own right about your specialist subject or your passion. Just drop me a line. You know where I am. 913-590-303. And Mr. Tony, this is what I made a video about the other day. Anyone can be a journalist, broadcaster, music producer. Yes, it is the real democratization of the process. Absolutely. Us kids have got the kit now, haven't we? It used to just be the professionals who had the kit. It's all of us now. With a little bit of training and a little bit of cash, actually, even I guess, yeah, you might be able to get free live streaming software, but you'll still have to pay probably to get on the internet cafe. You'll have to buy a laptop. But let's just leave it that it's or put it that it's very, very accessible now, the media sphere, and we'll be taking full advantage of that this evening at 7 o'clock. Oh, Grape Harvest. We were live yesterday with Bob and Viv and John and Pam, weren't we, at the Grape Harvest? And the lovely JC, very hospitable he was. I think we've got a bit of an update there. Thank you very much. Oh, and yes, a deep thought of the day, which I don't think we featured. Thank you very much, John Heimbach, for your recent deep thought of the day. Words of encouragement for everybody. So let's bring those onto the screen now. And we'll play your great picking video as well. Thank you very much for that. Sent in on 913-590-303. And yes, let me just send this message out to the whole world. Thank you, John, for this. A very sobering, possibly inspiring reminder. It depends what sort of mood you're in, really, doesn't it? Always remember that you are unique, just like everybody else, in fact. So very much appreciated this morning. Thank you, John, for that. Gumper dust everywhere this morning. And in case you didn't see it, the opening meme this morning was, "I won't back down." That's Tom Petty. And hopefully we won't see too much pettiness tonight at 7 o'clock when we discuss international issues from the perspective of us being expats, foreigners, immigrants in Europe. Hopefully it won't be petty. It will be revealing. It will be interesting. It will be elevating. It will be inspiring. I think we can rely on Tony for that, and I'll do my best to keep up my end of that bargain as well. I may readjust my stance if you have a convincing argument. That's Tom Reasonable and not Tom Petty there. Excellent stuff. The memes just keep coming, do they not? Others I might have shared with you this morning are, "Hey man, is there somewhere I can get a protein shake around here?" That's somebody talking to one of the devil's operatives, I believe, down there. Dude, there's no way in hell. See, get it? Very good. And there was another as well. It was a toss-up between these three this morning. I ate 4 cans of alphabet soup and just took probably the biggest vowel movement ever. Well, hey! Very good. That's really up our street, isn't it? The Maria biscuit is the Portuguese treat, not the Portuguese point of interest. It could be. The Portuguese treat of the week is the Maria biscuit. And at some point, we will have a look at the bolacha cake, which is basically a pile of Maria biscuits with loads of gooey goodness in them. And they all go soggy. It truly is the soggy biscuit dessert. And you may have had it, and it will have a coffee top note as well. It's a great Portuguese dessert. Do you or don't you? And do you like the rich tea? If you're a Brit, have you made the transition from rich tea to Maria? And I'll just do a quick quiz, actually. The simple crispy biscuit made from wheat flour, sugar, and vanilla was created by the London bakery Peak Freens. How they got a name like Peak Freens, I don't know. But what year was the Maria biscuit created, which clearly Portugal has picked up and run with? And it was made in this year. Maybe I'll give you multiple choice, but have a stab at when you think the Maria biscuit might have been invented. Was it the 70s? Is that a trick question there? Was it the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s? There's a little clue for you. And it was to celebrate the marriage of Russian Grand Duchess Maria Alexandrovna and Prince Alfred of Britain, founded in Bermondsey, mate, by James Peake, who presumably got together with a partner called Freen. The bakery became one of the most famous in London, which is why Bermondsey is nicknamed Biscuit Town. I didn't know that Bottle of Walter Bermondsey was named Biscuit Town. So when was the Maria biscuit, our Portuguese treat of the week? When was it invented, released into the public, belly and consciousness? Was it the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s? Thank you very much, John, for your. Let's play this before we forget. This picks up from yesterday. We went to the vineyard. The name of the place is Casa. It is Casa dos Cortes, is it not? Thank you. Yes, Quinta das Cortes, in fact. But it comes up somewhere else on the website. So be careful with that. I will make sure, if you want to go there, maybe get in touch and I'll send you the exact link. So there are, as is the case often in Portugal, there are other places called Quinta das Cortes. Okay, excellent. This is the video from John, picking up from yesterday. That's some great kit there. We need another look. That is a macerator, a grape macerator working at full pelt there. And so much goes in. We go to a supermarket, don't we? And in front of us is a bewildering sometimes, but beautiful and inspiring array of perfectly finished bottles of wine, packaged, clear. They just look great, don't they? And they're well lit often in the supermarket. And so much goes on. It's a miracle. So much goes on behind the scenes from a grapevine to get it into a bottle such that we can drink it at our convenience and in such a civilized way. And this is the sort of thing that goes on behind the scenes. So who picked the most buckets? That's the question we're all wondering, isn't it? We're not competitive. We're all working together in the vineyard. Yes, but some of us are more competitive than others. Good morning to you, Anna. Thanks, John, for that. Steve's here as well. Anna, bon dia, Gumpers. From Steve. We'll speak to Steve a week from tonight. Oh, and also 8:30 after. I might need a bit of a relaxing drink and chat after my hour with the Portuguese from 7. And also, I'll be using the Portugal Club as a bit of accountability. We are going up into 5th gear to start our company now. We made that decision a long time ago, and we just haven't acted on it. So I will be using the Portugal Club online meetup 8:30 every Tuesday as a bit of accountability. If you've got a project and you need a bit of buddying and accountability, you can use the Portugal Club in much the same way. If you're a member of the Portugal Club, it is one of the perks of membership to hang out on a Tuesday evening at 8:30. Oh, says Doug. Oh, matron, that's a finger mashing machine with all those exposed gubbins. We're in Portugal, mate. We're in the land of Obidos with no safety rails. Don't be stupid. Keep your fingers out of there, basically. Antonio F, good morning to you. Oh, this is a new angle on. I've never thought of doing this. A buttered Marie biscuit. Lovely. 2 biscuits with butter. Oh, I better make sure Sarah's got the link to join us. Sometimes you get in multiple groups, don't you, with people, and you send the link to a group rather than to an individual, and they're waiting for it on their individual WhatsApp. So I've just done that for Sarah there, who'll be joining us in just a moment. Find out how she's getting on with her new life here in Portugal. And if you've got any questions about FX, do ask those as well. Deagle was in at 8:12 this morning. Bon dia, Colin Compass from an okay Belfast, 9 degrees. Should hit 14. Great last night. Great night last night. 14 to 15 adult students learning Portuguese in Belfast. Well, that's interesting because mates of ours are learning Portuguese at the local school here. They started last night too. 3 classes a week learning Portuguese in Belfast. All different reasons to learn. Is it 1 lesson a week though, or 3 there, Deagle? And different levels, but everyone picked up a few words by the end of the class. That's the spirit. Well done, everybody. 8:16, and that's the time that it's always been. Bon dia, Gumpers. Feliz terça a todos, como Val from James. And this extra layer is getting a bit hot now. It is a bit literally over the top. And I'm feeling the heat now, Deagle. And also my shirt is unironed, which is another good reason to have 2 layers on. Bom dia todos, letting you into a little secret there. E feliz terça-feira, training later, but taking advantage of a break in the rain today to enjoy a walk and coffee, of course. Right, we'll come back to your God Squad tip of the day, which will fit in very nicely with talk of Qigong a bit later on. We talked about yoga, didn't we, and Pilates being good for the core. I'm sure Qigong is as well. Bon dia from Mama Bear there at Creative Roots Portugal. How's it going, MC, tonight? I hope. Bon dia, Portugal from João Ernesto. He's back. He's truly back. And that's the proof right there on your screen. Bon dia, Portugal from João Ernesto de Lima, who had a great day picking grapes yesterday. A check-in from Travanca, and that's Lord and Lady Travanca are with us this morning. Maybe see you this evening as well, Barak. Meet the names, some of the names on the screen at the Portugal Club if you want to pop along. 8:30 tonight. The link is in the Portugal Club timeline. Or just hit me up on 913-590-303 for that link. It's always the same Google Meet. For those of us who've been there on a regular basis recently, it is the same. I've kept it simple. Isn't that amazing? Kept it simple. Same Google Meet link. And I must say, Google Meet is growing on me. I quite like it. Very simple interface. Very nice to use. But much better than Zoom. Oh, my goodness. Zoom, despite its major use and its culture changing, not potential, reality, they still haven't really improved their interface and their software. It's definitely a Microsoft product, is it not? Bon dia todos from Antonio F. Good morning to you, Antonio. Bom estar, a slightly different phraseology, turn of phrase there. E bom estar de volta from João Ernesto. There's lots of greetings, lots of lovely greetings going on in the chat this morning. Fantastic. Gumpers, loving Gumpers this morning. Bon dia todos from Catherine as well, from Cat Whitby. And the wine club, this next wine club for October, first Monday of October, will be his and hers rosés, which is a suggestion of Gary Austin, who likes a cheeky rosé from time to time and enjoyed the Quinta dos Três rosé that we had when we were over there with you. And the movie of Quinta dos Três Rios, I believe, I saw Terry yesterday, and that will be with us soon as well. So you'll be able to see some of the fun we had very soon, I think in the next 24, 48 hours or so. Bob, out on a very wet walk with Gus this morning. No more grape harvest today, but we sure needed the rain here. Yeah, isn't that great? You've got the rain and a nice damp walk with the dog. There's nothing like the smell of damp dog first thing in the morning, is there? Achy legs and damp dogs. Lovely. You know you've been out with the pooch when that's in the air. Good morning from the sunny but breezy island of Capri. He is an international man of mystery. He's like something from a Bond novel, isn't he? Dougie Hughes. In the breezy island of Capri, will you watch out for the talented Mr. Ripley? Is that where that was set over there? Thank you very much for all your videos and pictures on 913-590-303. I would imagine hell is exactly where you would get protein shakes and smoothies and lots of kale and Swiss chard. But no way in hell, WHEY, as we saw on the earlier meme. Sarah Davie joining us in just a moment. Not serious, not so deep thought of the day, I think. I still haven't got that right, have I, John? I feel less guilty about napping when I call it pursuing my dreams. Yes, everybody. Write that down. You might need it. Are you sleeping again? No, I am simply pursuing my dreams here on the chair in the afternoon. Excellent stuff. Let's give her a nice big round of applause and welcome her onto the screen. Sarah Davie, everybody. Good morning.
Bon dia.
Yeah, you were at Spartan FX HQ.
No, I'm not. Well, the remote one in Portugal.
There you go. So how are you? You are in Portugal, and of course, we like to catch up with you on that note, Sarah. How's it all going for you? With your
It's going really well. I was actually had a friend stay from the UK, and we were talking about that. I've kind of got my two hats now, because yes, obviously we help people with the moving the money here, but now I'm here now as well. So I've done the journey, and it's nice to share my experience, and obviously if anyone's got any questions, but ultimately obviously everybody's journey will be different, but it's still moving to another country where you maybe don't know the people, the language is different, the culture is slightly different. So as much as it's been very easy because a lot of people do speak English, and it's quite easy to integrate into the communities and culture, there's still a culture, there's still a difference to where you've come from.
And how did your friend have a nice time?
Oh, lovely time. Yeah, really, really nice.
Because that's a great milestone, isn't it? When you turn into being the tour guide, and you suddenly realize, oh, hold on a minute, I'm now the local, and I'm showing somebody proudly around the places I was wide-eyed and agog about only a few months ago, probably, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's nice as well is that even when my family came, they know like Lisbon, but then there's so much more, the sort of ones that many people know, but there's so much more of Portugal to show them that they didn't know about.
That's right. We're up to 7 years now of the Munson family, and I think I've got quite the grasp in one sense of life in Portugal, but I know there's still so much more to see and enjoy as well, and that's what I've written about in the Portugal Resident. The 7-year itch. Have we got bored? Do we feel like a change? And the answer is no. There is so much more still to enjoy in this fabulous culture. So even after 7 years, I'm not feeling in any way itchy. Which I'm sure there is a cream for if necessary. So what else is new then, Sarah? Where did you take them? What are your favourite bits as the local now to take visitors to, friends and family?
Well, because obviously the weather in the UK is not great, and although we do have obviously beaches and people do, especially down south, they do go surfing, they do this water sports, but it is cold. And personally, I didn't do too much of that when I was in the UK. So now it's nice to do that here because the weather is better. The water's still up here. You've got the Atlantic. It's still not red hot. The water is quite cold, but you've got wetsuits and it's still nice coming out in, nice weather.
Yes.
And having the beach sort of on your doorstep.
Yeah, you sent me loads of pictures recently of different kinds of vessels that you've been in. These were they Samoan boats that you were in? Is that a thing around there?
Yeah, that was a Polynesian canoe.
Oh, Polynesian, okay, right. And what was that like?
Oh, it was really good because what was nice is that the people change depending on the day that you do it, but it's still nice to be sort of part of a team.
Yes.
There's 6 in the boat, and you have a paddle, and then you have to paddle sort of alternative sides, and then they sort of shout hip, and then you turn and you move to the other side, things like that. And
building event. Jerry Lawler's going to have us in one of those, isn't he? As a dream team.
Well, you joke, but I mentioned it. I mentioned it to Daniel Rees, the lawyer. Because he's very much into his boats. He's got a boat himself, and he's done the sailing lessons. In fact, the same place I did my sailing lessons the other week. And I sent it to him, and he's like, "Oh, that would be great for our team." And they do. You can. They have a 6 and they have a 12. And
that's
they
chaos.
do that for team building or for your company. So he was like, "Oh, we should do that as a team." So you joke, but we could.
It's possible, isn't it? The dream team on the water. And I would be tempted to just break out into the Hawaii 5-0 theme, which I'm guessing you're too young to remember. But I would. There are resonances, I think, of Hawaii 5-0 when you do that. So that sounds lovely.
And they do it actually in Porto as well.
Oh, okay. Apparently. So why is that? Is there a Portuguese connection at all?
I don't know, to be honest. But it's interesting, and it's not. I say it's not too hard work. Obviously it is exercise, but compared to maybe other things that are a bit more extreme, I feel like it's accessible to quite a few people.
Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay, you've got fans, you've got mail. So good to have you here, says João Ernesto. And a more of a personal question: have you stopped drinking instant? How you don't even have to answer that, but some coffee aficionados are a little upset, aren't they, when they hear of
Yes, they'll be pleased to know that I have.
Okay. Was it an office thing when you were working in the office in the UK?
Yes, it was, you see. So I've upgraded in my own home office.
Have you? You've got yourself a proper coffee machine now?
Proper coffee machine, yeah.
Get on! This culture.
I tell you what, talking about coffee, what is interesting. So I've started some Portuguese lessons.
Yeah.
The
Well
local
done.
school, it's a government funded program in your local school. I paid €22 to register, and then you go twice a week for 12 months and you do an exam at the end.
Yep.
And it's free, which is wonderful. It's quite intense. The woman basically, after the introduction, she's like, I will now only speak to you in Portuguese. So she just speaks constantly to you in
Sounds like
Portuguese.
Mission Impossible.
It
This,
does a little bit.
this
You just
tape
sat
will
there
now,
like,
this tape will now self-destruct in Portuguese, obviously. Yes.
So it is very intense, but I feel like that's maybe what I need to actually learn the language. But interestingly, in the school, obviously it's difficult because I can't say, to everyone, oh, you should be going into a school. But I paid less than €1 for a coffee
Yeah, fabulous.
in the
Fabulous.
canteen.
I think that's great. You've made the transition then. And it is about what's available, isn't it? Because I think in the UK, a lot of people drink instant coffee because that's what's there. Even though, it is definitely the age of the barista, doesn't it? All over the Western world, it would appear. But certainly in coffee, it's hard to drink instant coffee. You can buy it if you want to, but you kind of have to go out of your way to drink instant. And it's far easier to have what I would call
Coffee is it's very difficult because even in the UK, there's places you go that you have high hopes. They say, on the ad, that it's an independent sort of their love of coffee and and you think, oh, it's going to be amazing. And then you're like, oh, it's disappointing. A lot of people apparently, burn the beans. The water's too hot. I mean, it's an art, isn't it?
It
Making
is.
coffee.
But
I
I think
haven't
it's
mastered. So,
well,
I've got
yeah.
an espresso machine, so it's slightly a cheat, but at least it's not instant.
No, that apparently is the one. I was surprised by this. I think I might have been talking to Vito Costa about it, and we may have some pushback or recommendations from our community here. But I thought Vito Costa might have had a Delta machine or not Ruby, but one of the Portuguese brands, Delta. I can't remember what the other one is now, but he had an espresso, which I think it sounds like what you have. And apparently that's the favorite among Portuguese people is Nespresso, which is not Portuguese coffee as far as I'm aware.
Well, no, it's not. It's from all over the world, the coffees.
George
that
Clooney.
they have.
George Clooney makes it, as well as doing films. He
Oh,
produces.
is he Nespresso or is he that other brand, Gusto,
I thought he was Nespresso.
or whatever it's called?
Gusto, Dolce Gusto. That's the one, the other Portuguese one, isn't it? I do. Here we go. The coffee nerds are speaking now. I do love a dark roast, but not burned. Talking of burning the beans, yes, and I've heard these sorts of things, and I have to say, I think it's one of these things that's best kept simple because as soon as people start messing about and get the thermometer out and get a little bit precious about it, the coffee doesn't always taste better, in my view. Ironically, the more people, it's like hi-fi systems. The more people mess about, sometimes the worse they can make it. And I'm sure there are sweet spots, and there are people who truly know what they're doing. But
well, there is that. But there's also personal preference. I mean, hopefully she's not listening to this. But my auntie's got this massive. She got for her big birthday. Honestly, it's massive coffee machine. It's all singing, all dancing. I mean, it's everything. I don't actually like the coffee.
Oh, but you don't have the heart to tell her, right? Because she said, "Sure." You finished dinner with your auntie. Said, well, shall we spark up the coffee machine?
Yeah, exactly. Because she got it as a present, and it's hard work. It's not a quick coffee. So she takes loads of time to make it. So you kind of can't really go, oh, I don't really like it.
Yeah, that she would be heartbroken. So you're right. Let's hope she's not watching this morning. Portuguese coffee brands, they would be Delta, Nicola, and Tofa. Thank you for that. I was confusing Ruby for Nicola. Girls' names there. But Nespresso does appear to be the one that is loved by the Portuguese. Coffee, quite yangy, not yinny, as we'll be discovering with Marion Geray from Walksperia in just a moment. She's talking about the balance of east and west of yin and yang. And I think that's going to be a fascinating conversation. Are you going to stay for a bit of that, Sarah?
I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. And just before we bring Marion on then, the Portuguese connection is just being on the water, is James's guess when it comes to boats from other parts of the world. Pete, coffee here, 80 cents maximum, always amazing. That's right. That's what they say here. It's not the best coffee in the world, but it's the most consistently good. And funnily enough, we've got a currency question because you do that as well.
I do. So I'll take my other hat off and put my other hat on.
Yes. With the pound to euro being 120, do you think it's better to exchange now, or do you think there are further gains before Christmas? The crystal ball.
Oh, hit my crystal ball out. It's difficult. I mean, where we've seen the rate move sort of this week is basically some data that's come out of the Eurozone, where we've seen that there's sort of a dip in sort of manufacturing services, you know, a little bit contraction really in the economy. So they're looking at maybe the ECB may have to, you know, start cutting rates maybe in October to help sort of obviously deal with that, which will weaken the euro. So there is obviously potentially scope for that. But equally, the thing is with exchange rates, it's not in isolation. So yes, that would point to perhaps the euro weakening, and then therefore that would happen. But you know, what other data do we have coming out? What data do we have coming out in the UK? You know, this is other external factors that obviously the extreme things that we've seen obviously is war, pandemics, things like that, natural disasters. You know, we're looking at sentiments from different people, important people speaking, whether it be Bank of England or the ECB, for example. So it's not in isolation. And one thing to sort of bear in mind is that if we look back, as I said, maybe over the last 5 years or longer, getting to sort of really 120 or slightly over is fantastic, because it doesn't happen very often, and it often doesn't stay there for very long. So achieving a rate like that is very good. So that's something to sort of bear in mind. It depends on your situation, your timeframes, what money you've got available. It may be that you might want to consider maybe not doing all of it, but a quarter or half of what you need to do, and then that spreads that risk a little bit, so that overall the rates that then you buy at average out at is still a good rate. But again, it's just in comparison to where it's been. These are certainly very good levels.
Right.
And you know, if you did buy at that, and yes, it improved, yes, that's frustrating, but again, you've still bought at very good levels. That's the thing to bear in mind.
Yes. So you might pick a rate that you're happy with to cut your losses, as it were, and to feel secure if you're risk averse, and then make a forward contract or buy when it hits that rate, and just have done with that. But of course, you can't give advice on where you think it's going to go, because nobody can do that, can they, in their right mind?
Exactly, and that's why I think you've got to have it in your mind of where the rates have been, and whether that this is a good rate in the grand scheme of things, and really what rates you'd be happy with as a minimum, and sort of work from that really. As I said, in order to, because you know, obviously we're following the data, and that's the key thing, is to watch it. So we had a client who we contacted at the beginning of the year. This was actually selling Swiss francs and buying pounds. It was the best levels we'd seen in years, but he was sort of hesitant and wasn't quite sure. Then we kept in touch with the client, because it started to drop off and started to move slightly against them. And then they were like, okay, right, let's do this. So again, it's still about, when we are probably at the good levels, it's just to be watching it probably slightly more closely, so that if it does start to move the opposite way, that if you're not ready, or you're not sort of willing to commit to those levels, that you're still watching it to make sure it doesn't move further away from you.
Very good. Thank you for that. If you want to open a free currency exchange account, you can do that with Spartan FX. Just say we sent you. If you don't mind, that would be very helpful.
No, that's fine. But just a quick one on sort of selling US dollars and buying euros. Again, you know, looking back over the last 12 months, you know, we are in a sort of a trajectory that is essentially making it more expensive to buy those euros. And that's the other thing to sort of bear in mind, is if we continue, it's just going to get more expensive. So again, you know, it may be that now are these good levels to be locking in your rates or buying euros in advance. We can hold them on account. If you haven't got a bank account open in Portugal, if you haven't got a beneficiary to pay, you can still take advantage of the rate. That is the one good thing. So it's really important that you just speak to us. It's free to have a conversation, free to just have a chat about your situation, because if you leave it to the last minute, you've got very little choice. Yes, we may save you money against a bank or an online provider, but say you had to make a transfer this week, you're literally restricted to wherever the rates are this week. You have no choice.
It's good life advice. Yes,
it's advance, it's just giving you a little bit more choice. And sometimes it may be a case of, yes, by buying it then, now, you know, you've saved money, and that can vary between a few hundred, a few thousand US dollars difference, or it's exactly the same as what you bought it at, or perhaps a little bit worse. But again, it's sort of giving you peace of mind that it's helping you budget. because that's the other thing, and perhaps not quite the same because I'm bought a house here, but it's still a case of how much is that going to cost me, rental, whatever I'm buying. The exchange rate then has an impact. So if you're calculating everything on one rate when you're trying to work out how much your move is going to cost you, and that rate changes, well, your budget's slightly redundant because the rate's changed, and now either your budget's more, you need more money. We had a client who had set aside money to buy a property, and in their head they were like, okay, I've got enough money to buy the property, and then there's spare money to buy a car when I get here. Now the exchange rate, they didn't speak to us in advance. They went to transfer the money, the rate had moved, and it was more expensive. And the money they set aside for the car no longer existed because the rate had moved so much that they needed all that money to buy the property. So that's the sort of thing that the mentality to try and have is why we're encouraging people to speak, is just having a look at what your situation is. Because if you bought the euros now, and then in the future date when you actually needed it, it had moved, you could have got more. Obviously that is frustrating, but the benefit is you then know, right, I can afford that, and I can afford that, and I can afford that. That's sometimes something, another angle to think about.
Yep, and keep your ducks in a row. We better get Marion on, otherwise she's going to give me a hard time about my British and Portuguese timekeeping. Can you believe it? It must be very difficult if you're German. Let's give her a nice big round of applause. Hola, bon dia. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Bon dia. Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. Wie geht's Ihnen?
Hallo, Sarah.
What about me?
To you Hope you're all doing great. I followed the last 10 minutes, Sarah. Good to see you all.
Good to see you. Good to see you as well. And I was going to ask you how the German mark is doing. That's been a while now, isn't it?
The German markets, I think the DAX is doing well, but it's just we have a recession, recession this year, recession next year. It's all a bit...
Yes. You still talk about the German mark. That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, Marion, we're gonna have a change of polarity, I suppose, of the conversation, and maybe a change of pace. We're going to move back from the heady world of currency into the more relaxing world of qigong, and to consider the effect the Eastern philosophies that you know well, that you're trained in, might have on this Western mind, which, let's face it, the Western mind, the Western civilization is a little bit stressed at the moment. And you could argue that it could do with a little bit of deep breathing, relaxation, and looking at life from a slightly different and more yin-y angle rather than all this yang. So have I set that up correctly for our conversation this morning?
It's I was actually wondering how Carl is going to do the shift now, from the yang discussion with Sarah, which is about money, dollar, euros, change, buy, sell, blah, blah, this is all young world. Yeah?
Red races, yes.
Important, we need a house, we need an apartment, or we need a car, whatever. We need many, many things. Yeah, and we need money for that. That's all fair. That's fantastic. However, there's the other part of the yang, which is called yin, W-I-N. I'm sure Carl has the symbol ready to show and share now.
Well, it's funny you should say that. How embarrassing would it have been if I had not? So we see it featured in the South Korean flag and the Mongolian flag here.
Yeah, and I'm talking about the circle inside, which is here in the South Korean flag. It is red and blue.
Yes.
And you see two parts. Yeah, you see two parts. This is not the real Tai Chi 2, as we know the black and white symbol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will put that onto the screen. But everyone knows that. It's like the peace sign.
Everybody knows it.
Yes.
But do you all know what it means and what is that? What impact it can have for our daily life?
Well, possibly not. We take it for granted, don't we? I think, and let's just so that for the purposes of knowing exactly what we're talking about, let's bring that onto the screen now. We've grown up with this, really, haven't we? I think, and it's a catchy kind of. If logos can be catchy, this is one of them, isn't it? It's enchanting. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, well, what's going on there? So there you go. There's the better view of it, which you like to say in the flags.
Important here is that the white is yang.
Yes.
And the black one is the yin, okay?
Right, okay.
And you have in both parts, you have the other color as well.
Yes.
Which is very important because the yin-yang philosophy, which comes from China, but also there are parts in South Korea and Japan, says you have to balance. You have to balance your energies. And you have exactly two energies, which is the yin and the yang. And then you have, of course, you can describe the yang world, as I did right now with the dollars, the stock market, the production, the results, the KPIs, the return on investments, but also the doing. We are busy. We have every day to decide so many bloody things. Yeah. And it's not getting easier. We are finding ourselves in an overload of choices.
Yes.
Which restaurant do we go? Oh, I don't know. Oh, let's make a reservation in these three, and then we decide on how we feel on that day. These are so many things, and we do it not only with our investments, also with what to wear and what to do and blah blah. So we are stuck in our doing, and we have to decide.
And you're right, it becomes a habit, doesn't it? It becomes a way of life. Because I was going to invite people to do this. If you think about your native country, consider for a moment, is it a yangy or a yinny sort of place?
Very yangy.
Yeah. And
yangy. And
even England is Yangleterre, isn't it?
It's very much Yangleterre. I was thinking this morning, what is Portugal?
Yes, that's a very good question. Because I
was thinking because it has... So, but let's talk shortly about the yin. The yin is more soft. It stands for relaxation, for quietness, for stillness, for more cold and water. So
I feel better already just talking about it.
And the challenge is to bring it in a balance. You cannot only do a 20 kilometers run without the relaxation afterwards. You have to flow and move yourself from yin to yang over the day, over the month, over the year. You decide your time frame. Yeah. So coming back to the question, what is Portugal?
Yes. What do you think, Sarah? I think it's quite a yinny country in many ways.
I think maybe a little bit of both. Maybe
it's well balanced. Maybe it is well balanced, and maybe that's why we like it.
Exactly. That was also my thinking this morning. That it has less of the yang, definitely, but it's not a really yin country.
Yeah.
So yin countries are more like everybody knows Bhutan.
Yes. Yeah.
They are the happiness the inhabitants feel is measured. And is part of the GDP. Sarah, can you imagine? Yeah. So happy the people are is part of the GDP, and how good and well the people are, and how good is the country is led. Yeah.
They're not working hard enough. If they're happy, they're not working hard enough. For goodness' sake. Get back to work.
No, definitely Portugal.
So what in the UK we're working lots, but we're not happy.
Yeah. That's a problem, and I guess that's what happens in the imbalance, right? That's why it's important, because when you get into the imbalance, you have tangible effects, the kind that Sarah's talking about there, that characterizes the UK possibly at the moment.
Exactly, but it is important to understand that the symbols they are 3,000 years old, and people in whole Asia still have it somewhere. They are socialized with it, and it means they are more ready to change than other countries.
Yes. Yeah.
So the book, which is all about explain the yin and yang, it's called I Ching, and the I Ching translated means the book of change. Can you imagine? So it is normal that you are on the move and you are going from white to black.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes even the yang stands for the sun and yin stands for the moon. You have a full moon cycle. So this
it all adds up. Once you start looking, you can see it all there in life, can't you? Once you start looking.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, once you start looking, whilst it's symbolic, it's also real. It's real for us in life, isn't it? Once we have this language and understanding, a way of seeing things.
It is real, and it also is a reminder for us every day to balance. This is where work-life balance is coming from.
Yes.
Yeah. And the meditation is coming from. that you take your time, your 10 minutes every day, and then you are aligned, and then you are ready for the yang is the heaven, you know, this is everything what you are thinking, your brain, you're analyzing, return on investment, and the yin is the earth, where you are grounded. And this is also the simplest exercise is standing like a pine tree. And we have lots of pine trees here in Portugal. Standing like a pine tree means that you are rooted, your roots, your feet open up with the earth and get connected. And on top, you are like, I just read Bob Wenger. So we are open to the sky, you know, we are light and we are moving. So this is a very nice vision and a good idea how we go through the day. You know, we are open here.
Yes.
For thinking, the young world, the heaven, but also at the same time, we have to be grounded, you know, connected to the earth and not do too much of this or too much of that.
I think Sarah's enjoying this. I'm hearing noises of appreciation.
Well, and also I was thinking back to sort of, you know, the tips that she gives are wonderful, because thinking about my other hat of the move, before I came out, I was so stressed. And we did a session with the tapping.
Oh,
and
yes.
I did another session with Marion with the tapping. Oh, honestly, that worked really well.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Because you rarely get this feedback. You know, when you help people, I think a lot of therapists and healers get this. They give people tips. It's like, oh, great, I feel great again.
Yeah.
And then they move on and forget to report back. So thank you for that bit of feedback. That's fantastic, Sarah. Lovely to hear.
I'm very happy to hear that, Sarah. And this is actually also my approach, that I have, you know, some methodologies. They are rooted from the Asian philosophy because I experienced myself, so I know what is working. It's not only spiritual things, you know, you have points somewhere, and if you activate them, the body will go and flow again. And you know, so it's good if you are in the flow and let the meridians and the blockages go.
Yes,
yeah?
Very good. Very good. Cool. Now, I want to ask you about your pine tree for a moment, because the very way our rational, industrial, yangy mindset works is like, okay, I'm going to work really hard, and then I'm going to stop working hard, and then I'm going to relax, and then I'm going to realize I've run out of money, so I'm going to work really hard again. And this is a cycle, isn't it? Now, what you were talking about, you could perhaps approach work like a pine tree. We don't have to have this terrible separation, do we? Could we not go into the workplace and model a pine tree? Now, I don't mean stand in the middle of the trading floor, like a pine tree, but like inwardly, we could imagine ourselves to be rooted through our feet, couldn't we? And open to the heavens as a way of being in the workplace. It doesn't have to be completely polarized and separate in the way that we tend to do, right?
Exactly. And it's all connected.
Yes.
You know, if you change A, it will impact something on B, you know, because we are all connected. You cannot see these standalone things anymore. And this is the first idea you have to accept, you know?
Yeah.
And this is very important. And that's why it's also important that you get some ground and that you are stable, you know, and then you can dream and everything. Also, for instance, daydreaming is also yin.
Yes.
How often are you doing daydreaming? I know, Carl, you have young children, but a question to the audience, how often do you give space and room and time for daydreaming? Just do nothing.
Yes, well, we have some help with that this morning. It came in from John, which was maybe reframe your snooze as pursuing your dreams, your afternoon nap. So I'm not napping, I am pursuing my dreams, and I'm also visualizing and daydreaming in the way that Marion suggested we do. So that's gonna be my defense anyway. Whenever I'm caught napping now, not that happens very often, I have to say. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, isn't that like the siesta? They have that here. That's
very powerful. Very powerful.
Very powerful. And also the napping, since you mentioned this, Carl, in China, you know, when I worked there in 95, the first time in the Siemens office, the Chinese, they went for a quick lunch outside, warm lunch, then they came back to the desk and they slept like this, you know, head on
that was allowed.
It was, of course, not allowed, but it was part of the culture.
Right.
So
okay.
30 minutes food and then 10 minutes napping. Napping, this is what we are now told to do.
Wow.
You
How about
give
that?
me a break for lunch break, active lunch break. You eat or you do qigong or yoga, and then you can do your napping for 10 minutes, but not longer, because you have. Best thing is you hold a chain key.
Yes.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
you sit and you go back, and then when it falls out of your hand, this means you would enter the REM phase, which you don't want.
You don't want to be doing that, do you? Because we know, some of us know what that's like, to go into deep REM sleep in the middle of the
This
day.
is not a good idea. So that's
you
why
wake up, it feels like another day when you wake up, doesn't it? And that's really confusing.
Exactly. And you know, Salvador Dali also did that napping with the key.
Did he?
And I saw it in Lisboa in a museum about Dali. And that was really his chair, you know, a nice comfortable chair. And then he had a table and the key. And when the key fell on the table, it made a sound, and he woke up and was drawing again.
It's in the movie Inception as well, isn't it? I think they use that technique. Yes, very good, very good. So bunch of keys. Where are you going? For a nap? I'm not locking the house up. I'm just going for a nap. This is an interesting point to me, and I wanted to ask you about this because this is maybe a massive global cultural change. It looks like the Chinese, if I may just say the Chinese, and it's a massive generalization, but given that it is the home of the philosophies you talk about, the Chinese do seem to have picked up and run with the Western mindset, don't they? They've become very young and industrious.
Very young on the East Coast when it started, you know, when Deng Xiaoping opened China to the capitalism.
Yep.
Then we all came in, including myself, all of us. And so they did a big, so, but now they see that money is not everything, you know, they face a lot of bad things in China right now. I don't have to mention the real estate bubble. You know,
and is there a cultural realization about that, do you think?
It's not cultural. It is like they identify that their change with all the money coming in is not linear anymore, you know, and they had growth rates of 15%, and now it is, of course, less. And their change was growing. And like this, everything was growing 20%. And now they are not growing on that extent anymore. And this is what they have to accept and digest. And a lot of Chinese, they can't.
Yes, that's right. They've fallen for the kind of yang Western mindset of like growth at all costs. It's very interesting, isn't it? And maybe in the future, because this is my theory about Europe, is that we might become the world's yin again one day. You know, you could argue, couldn't you, that the American European culture empire is coming to its cycle, its full cycle. And it will take a different place. I don't want to talk in sort of doomsday scenarios, because this is a natural cycle, and it might be that we can reinvent our place in the world as the thoughtful yin historical influence on the world. Come and relax in Europe, whilst the rest of the world picks up and runs with the crazy yangy baton. You look at the BRICS countries, Russia, China. They are all going kind of production growth crazy. And it might come down to Europe to be like, well, you come here for a rest, which wouldn't be such a bad thing, would it?
Yeah. No, I fully accept. And I find the young Chinese, the mainland Chinese who I'm talking with, I'm a mentor there, they start and do the Qigong again.
Very good.
Their parents, they have just made money. They just wanted to become rich and as quick as possible. Now the 20-year-old, they say, I don't have job perspectives. I was at university, but it's not granted that I get a job for the next day. This has all changed. And to accept this change and to go through this change, they do Qigong again.
Amazing. Isn't that lovely?
It's amazing. And it is fantastic.
They've got Western mentors like you teaching them Qigong and talking about that. Go on, Sarah.
Sorry, I'm going to have to go now, unfortunately.
All right, no problem. You've got some stuff to do. We know that. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Cheers, Sarah. Ciao. Right, and we need to find out when your next workshop is coming up, because, of course, you are Walksperia. Thank you, Sarah, for being here this morning. And, yes, those graphs are up on the screen. And sorry, Barak, I didn't have a chance to ask about the effect the election might have in the United States. But, of course, we will come back to that as the heat increases around your US election there. This is Walksperia. This is what you do. This is how you ground people and bring them back to a little bit more balance, right, Marion? What have you got coming up?
Yes. Also, but what I'm also starting now in October is a Qigong workshop in Caldas da Rainha.
Oh,
if
very good
anyone's
indeed.
interested,
Yes.
please drop me a line.
Okay, I think I saw mention of that. You've got Heather, haven't you, and Cordelia talking about that as well. So yes, that's going to be a lot of fun. I think that'll be great fun. A few of us getting together for a bit of Qigong in Caldash. And Bob Wenger saying, "Guten Tag, Marion. Just a week ago, Viv and I felt out of balance or sync. We returned to a Qigong exercise we'd neglected for several weeks. The shift was palpable. They had a palpable shift there." And Bob, a big fan of the EFT tapping as well. It's phenomenal, they say. Okay, so brilliant. You've got the Qigong in Caldash. You've got the workshops here, and I will put the link to those. Anything else you wanted to share with us this morning, Marion?
I wish all of the entire audience a very good day, and maybe you take 5 minutes to relax, and maybe you do nothing and accept the boredom. Try that one.
Very good. And we have
this
the
is
right
the masterclass. This is the masterclass. Accept boredom. Just do nothing.
That's a hard sell as a consultant, isn't it? So please share with us. We're paying you £1,500 a day, and we would like to know how to become more productive and balanced. Yes, do nothing for 5 minutes. Here's my invoice. Fantastic. Thing is, it works. It works. All right.
Thank you so much for being with me on the show.
My pleasure.
See you tomorrow.
Oh,
see you tomorrow.
Yes. See you tomorrow. Take care. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. There she goes. Ciao, ciao. Right, and we don't do rapturous applause because we're in a nice peaceful state that would just snap us out of the nice calm that Marion brings to the show. And we'll stay with a little bit of mind, body, spirit, and we'll go to Coach Turner's God Squad tip of the day, just so we stay in our bodies and embed all that good yinny feeling if we got a bit too yangy, and vice versa. Of course, sometimes people can get a bit too yinny as well. If it's all about balance, it's not about that yin is better than yang. It's about having the two work together to cause and allow balance. Have a great day, people. Have a beautiful day, says Mama Bear. See you tonight. A couple of simple exercises then from the coach can significantly improve your mobility and posture. You will need a long stick. What? Such as a broom handle. Is this not to strike opponents with, is it? This is like Tai Chi martial arts it's turning into. Let's find out. You will need a long stick, such as a broom handle, and a chair. For the first exercise, sit on the chair. Put the stick out in front of you vertically with one end on the floor, holding the other end with straight arms. Gradually tip forward the chair with the support from the stick. Stand up slowly. I want to see a video of this if anybody does it. Then lower yourself down again. You do look like a Jedi or a Chinese Kung Fu master doing this one, I think. Then lower yourself down again and up before you sit on the chair, and then maybe sweep up. Multitask. Repeat up to 10 times, 3 to 4 times a day. We'll look at the second exercise tomorrow. I want to see video of this. And we've got Pam picking up on being in Portugal. 10 years for Pam, and still lots still to see. So no itchiness there. So you got over your 7-year itch, which is what I'm writing about in the Portugal resident this week as well. So lower interest rates, says a Squire. Morning, Squire. Lower interest rates equates to weaker currency from printing cash, more inflation and price rises. Back to the yangy business there. And the broom, yes, once you've done your exercises, sweep up the room. It's the least you can do. I think it's like a seated squat with arms out. It does sound like that, Darren, doesn't it? But a video will prove and demonstrate that to us such that we can see it properly and not get ourselves into any trouble with that, which is another. I love it. Some of these exercises that the coach gives us, they are fantastic images upon which to enter a room to see somebody doing, planking on the floor, doing press-ups against the sideboard or the kitchen counter, and now sat in a chair with a broomstick looking like a relaxing Jedi. Fantastic. Thank you all for being here this morning. Didn't get a chance to talk as much about Maria biscuits as I'd wanted to. The answer to that quiz, when was the Maria biscuit invented? And it was invented in London, mate, at the Peak Friends Bakery in Bermondsey, aka Biscuit Town. I said, was it the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s? It was indeed the 70s, but the 1870s, 1874 is when the clock goes back. History goes back to 1874, where the Maria biscuit was made, and the Portuguese have picked it up and run with it. I think we had Dougie saying earlier on that you can't buy Maria biscuits anymore in the UK, which seems weird given that that's where they were invented. A bit like all the sports, though, as well, isn't it? We're not as good at them as we used to be when we first invented them. But there you go. That's human progress. And talking of human progress, don't forget, in the course of human progress. Balance your yin and your yang, which I think is the lovely big takeaway from Marion of Walksperia, who is with us. So more Gumper Dust on you, and we shall see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 in the morning, and maybe we'll see you at 7 this evening with the Portuguese for something a little bit different. He and I talking about world news from the point of view of foreigners living in Europe, and the Portugal Club at 8:30 as well, where we'll hang out, just have a drink and have a chat, and a bit of accountability for anybody who needs it on the projects that they're starting here in Portugal. Take care, bye for now, and have a great day.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.